G'day guys, welcome back to the lab, day 7. What happened to day 6, you say? Well, day 6, I was too tired. I was worn out. With my old shaky hands and headache and all that sort of carry on, so I didn't do much yesterday at all. In fact, I did try and cobble together a little bit of a video for you. I got sort of 5 minutes worth and went, you know what, this is junk, just leave it. So sorry about that if you sat there waiting or checked the internet a few times, checking the channel to see for content. It's just the way it is. I'm sorry. Can't flog myself to death just for video content. Right, so we do have some today though. So I'll swap the camera over for you and we'll talk about what's happening today. So on, not yesterday, the previous video, the day before, we got this header tank for our intercooler system. Let's say it's 90% done, so I've got to put some mounts on it and I've got to pressure test it and make sure it's not leaking. Or even, I mean, it doesn't really need pressure in it, does it? I could just fill it up with water and leave it for half an hour, and if there's no drips hanging out anywhere, then that's probably sufficient for what it's doing. What we're going to do today is quite simply mirror image that with some slightly different fittings, or perhaps just one fitting actually. All it needs is a fitting same size as what's on the radiator overflow there, and then we'll run a silicone hose along there and we'll duck it through somewhere appropriate. Actually just thinking about it, there's no reason why there can't be a grommet just here somewhere through this panel and then just poke it around there. I was originally thinking we'd go all the way over there and come back this way, but we don't need to. So we'll get that done. We'll get the radiator overflow tank sorted out. Then there are just the power steering reservoir to do. So there's the power steering pump tucked away down here. There's its inlet. So we put a tank just up here somewhere. Heaps of room for that. The bonnet's way up here somewhere out of shot. So build a tank for that. I'm pretty sure we've got another cap kicking around somewhere to do that one. Then we also need a windscreen washer reservoir somewhere. So there's a couple of options there. We could put one right at the back there, up by where the jets are. They're not really the new style. It's literally just a bit of bent tube with a crushed end on it, just to squirt the water at the screen. So there's one here and there's one on the other side. So we could potentially put a reservoir up here somewhere, design it so that it's maybe we could use that bolt hole there and that stud over there, and we could cover up this windscreen wiper motor mechanism, and that would be all right as long as it had, say, as I talked about earlier with the header tank, say a sight tube on it and access to fill it easily. It could be tricky all the way back there in the engine bay, so I'll have a think about that. The alternative is a great big gaping big hole right there, and we could maybe put a filler neck out of there behind the air filter that's going to be here, and have that all tucked away. As I said, just keeping in mind we want to try and keep this engine bay as clean and tidy as we possibly can. There will be some stuff in there, you can't avoid it. There is a big fan motor that goes over here that will cover up the fuel pressure regulator, which is sitting there out in the breeze. There's a big fan arrangement there. We could change that at a later date. That's not a low volume vehicle certification issue. Just at the moment, just to keep costs back a little bit, I'll leave that fan in there, because shifting that into the car seems like an easy thing to do. Probably spend $1,500 doing that at least, I'd say, by the time you changed all the ducting and all that sort of carry on. So that's the hoist creeping down a little bit to tell me to hurry the hell up, so I'll get on with it. Okay, it's 15:15 lunchtime. It's probably not coming out as nice as the other one did, but it's still alright. It'll be fine. The next step is to, I'll put that cap on, wherever the cap is. We'll put the same extension on that one as we did on the other one. There it is. Still got some bits in there, we haven't quite run out just yet. So that's the 1.5 one. I think it's, yes, 1.5 bore. I was just looking at that, it didn't look like it said 1.5, because it didn't, it says 1.5. Never mind. That's big enough for what we're doing, and it fits in there beautifully. Imagine that one there, it's going to look quite nice when you open the bonnet, I reckon. That'll be quite good. He may choose to get them powder coated or anodized black or something, or grey or whatever. I think he's more about the darker colours than the shiny colours, but we'll see. So I'll get that on after lunch. Put the end tank on, or end cap on it, on the tank, and the fitting for the water in and out. What I do with these is, I'll show you on that one, I just drill a little hole. These have got an O-ring seal on them, which is why they're quite tight at the top of, or the bottom, at the start when you're trying to undo them. This one's fighting all the way actually. There we go, and then it goes free. So I leave the O-ring on there, because then you can tighten it up. It acts as a locking thing. Stops it undoing when you don't want it to. You imagine with vibrations and stuff that would come undone quite easily. So I just drill a tiny little wee hole just below the threads here to act as a vent when the system needs it. And the other way to do it, you put a fitting and then you can put your hose to wherever. With these it won't matter so much. They're pretty much at the highest point, or close to the highest point in the engine bay, so running a hose somewhere won't really achieve a hell of a lot. So I'll just drill a little hole for a vent and that'll be it. That'll be good. Okay, I think egg sandwiches today, so go munch on those and come back. Okay, that one's not bad. It's all welded up and filled up with water to pressure test it. Just short of 2 litres of water, which is maybe a bit marginal given the size of the engine, but it should be sufficient. It shouldn't, water shouldn't expand that much in the scheme of things, so we should be okay. If that overflows, there's probably a bigger problem. Neither of those have got mounts on them yet, and just looking at the hose coming from the intercooler coolant tank, that one there, might be a bit of an issue with running that straight from there and then trying to sneak it under there, which is why I haven't put a hose on there just yet. Got to figure that out in the future. Probably won't be anytime shortly. Oh, it depends what I've got kicking around, I guess. Yep, so one fitting to go onto the radiator overflow tank, that one to go onto the actual radiator overflow hose, and then I can do the brackets for both of those tanks. So before I go to all the trouble of making a fitting to go onto here, and the lathe that's all covered up, Axel won't be very impressed with me stealing his music. We'll have a look in the stash over here. As you can see, there's quite a lot of stuff here. I've got a few fittings kicking around. It's always pays to double check what you've got kicking around. I don't think it might be out of luck. Or not. What's that? AN6. That's about the right size. Put that over there. What else have we got? That's probably not going to help. Another one of those. They're not going to help either. Oh look, there's even one in the bag. Ha! Oh, that's perfect. Brand spanking new speed flow. What else we got? Oh, same deal, just not in the bag. Oh, cool. All right. I don't. No, there might even be. We could potentially. Maybe not. In my other stash, we might even be able to go to AN fittings, -4 fittings or something like that. Run a fancy hose. Well, there's that, isn't there? Could convert it to, could convert it to that. Run braided hose to the tank. That'd be a bit fancier than the silicone hose I was thinking about. Well, there's heaps of that anyway, so let's have a look and see if there's some other fittings that go on the end of that. That's 4, can't be 6, it must be 4. Right. The joys of working in a lockdown, trying to figure out, I think we've got the solution here anyway, trying to figure out how you're going to do things without really being able to source parts. So there's one potential. I've got my box of fittings up here, and amongst other things, I'm pretty sure there's a couple of weld-ons in there. We've got some fuel pump fittings. That. No. second hand weld on. She's pretty manky, but you probably could use it if you had to. That one's a bit big. That's a bit big too. Those ones we took off the other day. I'm pretty sure. No. Something that's damaged. It's probably not us. No. What's that? No. Oh! Aha! So there we go. Anywhere on the bottom of this tank, AN6 weld on male. I think there might be another one in there too, to be honest. And either a straight bar. We could even put the AN6 on the side. Better on the bottom to get the maximum amount of coolant back out of the system. Put it on the bottom and stick that on there or anywhere and run the hose off to wherever we want. So that's cool. Yay! I didn't think we'd be able to finish that off today. Looks like we will. Sweet! Right, that's done for now at least. The mount's on there. I'll sort that out very shortly. We put the 90 degree fitting on there just for now, with the plan that probably run it along the top of there. Secured to here somehow, cable ties or sticky, I think Nava makes some mounts, the little squares with double-sided tape on the back of them. You can stick them onto things and then pass a cable tie through them and secure cables and hoses and things. Those are pretty awesome, so they would work along the top of there, although I'm not sure how they go with the heat. There shouldn't be too much heat on that. So that's one way to do it, run them along there and they pass the hose through here somewhere, through that gap, pop it out over the top, run it along there to that fitting. Oh, I'm struggling to do things looking through the camera rather than looking directly at it. The other option is just come out of here and do a 180 degree bend and run it along, poke it through this side of the radiator here somewhere and onto that. But that's the advantage of having a screw-on fitting there, is we can change that for a straight or a 45 or poke it this way or poke it that way or whatever, you know. So that's pretty awesome. Stoked I had those. Always check, of course, before you order stuff, but would have been a bit awkward if we didn't have any of those. You can't order them, so that's all good. Right, I'm going to get on and do the mounts now. Brackets started at least, just for the radiator overflow at this stage. The intercooler header tank will have basically the same system. No reason why we can't. It should work. So there's a tab being welded onto each side, 90 degree folded tab, and for this side, inner side on both of them, it's just a simple little L-shaped bracket with a riv nut in the top of it. From the underneath here, there's a riv nut being stuck into the back side of that, so you don't have to fluff around with nuts and washers and all that sort of carry on while you're putting this in. And basically, yeah, it just screws in through that top panel, and the rest of it, once you put the grill on, just disappears. You can't see it. So there'll be a screw to see there, and then on this side there'll be nothing, because I'll build a little tab that'll come from here, 2 screws, and it'll tuck in behind where the grill goes, and I'll push the grill out 2 millimeters, which is not a biggie. No one's going to see it or notice it or whatever. And the front of this car is not perfect anyway. As you can see, there's a few wrinkles along here. She's had a bit of a hard time, so where that is now, it's possibly not where it's supposed to be anyway. So 2 millimeters out on the grills, no biggie at all. No one's going to notice it. By the time I've got both of those secured, it's not too bad. Even just with that one end done there, it's quite rigid. So by the time I've got that end there secured, she's good. She's not going to go anywhere. As I mentioned before, it's just short of 2 litres. The whole thing, absolutely chock-a-block full of water, is 2.4 kgs or something like that. So not dealing with a massive amount of weight, and it's relatively supported anyway, even if it does tend to move and jiggle around. If we put some, there's probably some in the cupboard. I'll show you some of the foam tape. That's probably, oh bloody hell, it's not in the cupboard. Yes it is. There it is there. Some of that foam tape, put that in behind in places where it might touch, and she'll be good. It'll be Bob's your uncle. So that's not bad. I didn't get it finished, I was trying to. It's 4 o'clock. I don't have any crackers. I can't have crackers and cheese, but I'm definitely going to go have a drink. And I'll do this bit tomorrow and then follow through with the other one. And then we'll get on with something else. Maybe the exhaust system. We'll find some fittings to sort this out perhaps. All we need to do to finish off the intercooler system, apart from some hose clamps there and tighten everything up, all we need to do is go from here to through that hole there and to that fitting on top of the manifold up on the other side there. We do have enough hose to come straight from that manifold to here, that's no problem. It's just a case of how do we get it around the corner and up and across there and into there without kinking the hose or chafing through the bottom of a tank or something like that. Alright, I'm thirsty. It's knock off time. Cheers, bye.